Hello, welcome back to Crushing Sounds. My name is Chris. Let's get this new year started off right with an awesome interview, and I am so happy that we are joined once again by the amazing musician behind Svalbard and Noctule, gaming journalist, roller coaster enthusiast, and Pokemon cross stitcher, Serena Cherry. Thank you so much for joining me, Serena. How are you doing?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me back on Crushing Sounds. It's really great to be here chatting with you again. I'm good. Yeah, good for a Monday.
Oh, surprisingly good for one day. Yeah, cool. So, as I said, we spoke all the way back in 2021, hot off your awesome set at that year's Bloodstock Festival. A lot has happened since then, and we come now at last in October just gone. You guys in Svalbard dropped your long-awaited follow-up to When I Die Will I Get Better with the amazing new album, The Weight of the Mask. It's been critically acclaimed all over the place. However, you can forget all those frivolous honors because the album achieved the highest honor possible, Crushing Sounds Album of the Year. So, jokes aside, congratulations with it. It's a brilliant, brilliant album. So, what's it been like seeing all the acclaim coming at you guys off the back of this?
Oh, firstly, thank you very much for having it Crushing Sounds Album of the Year. That's really, really kind. I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed the album so much. It's been kind of surreal, to be honest, to see the reaction that The Weight of the Mask has had. It's definitely gone above and beyond what we expected. I think when you're creating music, you sort of go into a tunnel and you're in that sort of creative bubble, just sort of focusing on making the songs the best they can be, rather than thinking about how other people are going to interpret it. We'd never want to sit down and write an album where we're like, oh yeah, maybe the journalists will really like that one. I'm personally, for me as a creator, when I write my guitar parts, I'm very selfish in the sense that I write what I want to hear and I write what I want to play. I'm not really too concerned about like acclaim, I guess. And I think any artist, sort of a true artist, will tell you the same thing. That yeah, you don't write to fit an agenda of other people. So yeah, it's been really amazing, really heartwarming to see that we kind of forged ahead on our own Svalbard path and did what felt right to us, and received so many good reviews for it.
Yeah, great. You kind of answered my next question there, but I was going to ask if you felt any sort of pressure going into the making this album because your last album also did really, really well. Did you think, how are we going to top that?
Absolutely. Like that's one of the things. I do put a lot of pressure on myself when I'm writing my guitar parts. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as a band. The way we handled that pressure in between When I Die Will I Get Better and The Weight of the Mask was to really, really be very meticulous with our approach to the songwriting. I have never had songs torn apart quite the way that they were when we were writing this, The Weight of the Mask. Like every week, people were coming because we all write together in a rehearsal room. We don't email each other riffs or anything. So we'd come into the room every week and one person would be like, oh, I want to go over this bit, I want to change this bit, I want to change this song. And that happened for 2 years. Like there were songs that didn't even make the album. There's one song that was mostly my riffs that I'm going to put on a Noctule album instead. I think it fits Noctule more, thinking about it. But yeah, had to sort of become quite thick-skinned when we were writing The Weight of the Mask, because we were all sort of, yeah, being very sort of critical and things, and just making sure that everything was absolutely the best it can be. We took the longest time that we've ever taken writing this album. Normally we don't take as many years as we did to write the weight of the mask. And I think that was all a result of the kind of internalized pressure of when you have a previous album be well received. You know, you don't want to drop the ball. You don't want to kind of fumble it and then end up making something the next time around that doesn't quite hit the mark. But it's a scary idea to kind of keep having to live up to yourself creatively.
Yeah, I'll bet. So let's dive right into the album. I remember reading shortly after the album came out, you did an interview where you described this album as way darker than the previous album. Um, I'm not going to say I don't agree. That's ridiculous. You wrote the damn thing. But I guess my interpretation of it when I heard it is that a lot of the songs on this album have kind of a, yeah, this thing I'm dealing with sucks. However, so like Defiance is about struggling with many different things, but it's also about fighting back. How to Swim Down, I think you've said, is about unrequited love, but you know that love is still there. Eternal Spirits about people who've passed on, but you know we're going to carry on their legacy. Not that every song does this. I mean, just read the lyrics to November. My God, but was that a conscious decision to add a little bit more light amongst the darkness, as I put it in my very poetic review?
I mean, I definitely think, yeah, that's well spotted by you. Because I think the general interpretation of this album is, oh, it's very bleak, it's all about depression, it's very dark. But you're absolutely right, especially songs like Defiance. It is about acknowledging that you're down, acknowledging that you're struggling, but also acknowledging that you're fighting and that you're living to see another day, and like kind of acknowledging the silver linings within the very, very dark rain clouds. So yeah, I would describe it as like this is an album about depression, but it's also an album about fighting against depression and the courage that takes and the strength that that takes, and kind of being able to sort of console yourself a little bit for going, hey, you know, this sucks, but you got out of bed today. This sucks, but you managed to go to the gym, that kind of thing. And there's definitely a lot of fight in this album, and definitely, yeah, maybe that kind of shifting perspective of like the sadness of musicians passing away, but also then looking back and admiring the legacy that of inspiration that they left behind. So yeah, I think your description, it suits it really well, actually.
Off the back of that, would you still say it's darker than the previous album?
It's weird because I think some songs are. I think Be My Tomb is very, very dark and depressing. I think November is quite a hopeless song lyrically. I think To Wilt Beneath the Weight is a very, like, yeah, sort of bleakly honest song. So I think The Weight of the Mask definitely has its moments where we hit our darkest point, but then maybe overall it's When I Die Will I Get Better doesn't have the silver linings in it
Mm.
that you described in The Weight of the Mask. So more depressing lows, but equally more rays of hope in this
Yeah,
album.
yeah. There's a bit more duality going on with this one, which I guess is what made it feel like the natural evolution from what When I Die Will I Get Better was. Is that extra level in there? So I wanted to talk about some of the tracks more specifically. I think How to Swim Down might be one of the best things you've ever done, which is weird considering how different it is to everything else. Where did the inspiration come from to do a song much more, I guess, mellow for this one?
Well, what's really interesting is when we first wrote How to Swim Down, we wrote it as an instrumental song. In all our previous albums, we have like an instrumental track, or we have something like the final track on When I Die Will I Get Better, which is, yeah, kind of softer and that kind of thing. So we thought it was going to be the sort of final instrumental track, but then it wasn't until we were in the studio recording the album I started hearing like vocal lines on top, and I started singing, and then Liam started singing his harmonies and everything, and the lyrics just kind of poured out really, really quickly in one sitting, which is unlike me. Normally I labor over my lyrics quite hard, and it's a very like long, arduous process to write lyrics for a Svalbard song. But How to Swim Down just kind of fell out supernaturally. And I think that's, even though it is such a departure for us musically, I think the fact that that song was created so like effortlessly, and it just came together so kind of fast, is why it still manages to like be like a fan favorite, or be one that, you know, it wasn't such a departure that people going, oh my God, Svalbard have sold out, Svalbard have gone all cheesy or whatever like that. The reaction to it was good. I think it was that naturalness that enabled that. But yeah, the writing process was completely different to how we normally write a song. It was definitely one that kind of was more constructed under the microscope of the studio. And in terms of the lyrics, I mean, those are all about, obviously, it's unrequited love, but using the analogy of playing as a healer in World of Warcraft. And some of the lyrics in that song are actually based on a conversation happening in game
Right.
in World of Warcraft. So yeah, there's a lot of World of Warcraft ties in that song.
Fair enough. That's actually that's the game I have not yet indulged in. I've played many games, but never Warcraft. I think I get way too addicted to games, and I think that one could just be a recipe for disaster for my productivity. But maybe I'll try it one day. Also, adding violin to it was a stroke of genius. It really lifted the whole thing. Did that come from a specific source of inspiration, or did that also just happen?
So that's something we've wanted to do for a long time because Liam is a excellent violin player. He plays violin in the band Morrow, and I saw him play live with Morrow years ago, and he was playing violin. And I think afterwards, straight away, I was like, "Why aren't you doing that in Svalbard?" Like I got quite heated about it because it sounds so great, and he's such a fantastic player on both guitar and violin. So we always knew. I think when I Die Will I Get Better, we wanted to put violin on the album, but we never found a place where it fit. I think we actually tried to put it on Listen to Someone, and it didn't quite work because that
Ooh,
already has a lot of like melodic layers going on.
I don't want
And
to
then
hear
when we
that
wrote, it'd be interesting. Maybe we'll re-record it with some
though. Just
violin
send it
and
to
see
me.
how it goes. Yeah. Um, but yeah, and then when we were writing How to Swim Down, and it was at the time it was just chords and my lead guitar parts and stuff. Liam already started like thinking up the violin stuff, so that idea for violin on that song was there from pretty early on in the mix. And when we went into the studio, he just layered it up. He did all those beautiful harmonies on the violin, and yeah, I think it adds so much to the song, and it's something I definitely like us to do again in the future. Have Liam do some more on violin because he's a really good violin player.
Cool. Are there any other secret instruments that you guys know how to play that you might be able to throw in there?
I mean, it's interesting. So I know how to play drums, but obviously we have a drummer, so we're not going to do a Cult of Luna and have two drums. Trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, I can play piano. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll throw some piano in if it fits one day. Yeah, we shall see.
Fair enough. I haven't been able to catch you guys live since that song dropped. Is it a song that you play live?
No,
Hmm.
it's a song that the band Zetra play live.
I
So I
did
don't
see it,
know if
yeah.
you... Yeah, yeah. So we don't play How to Swim Down live because, as I sort of said about it being, it was definitely a song that formed under the light of the studio, and it's got a lot of layers in it. Also, my guitar lead that happens is the very opposing to what I'm singing melodically. I can scream and play leads. Singing a different melody and playing a guitar lead is really difficult. So I wouldn't really be able to do it justice. Plus, there's a lot of vocal harmony. So unless we had six people on stage doing the different vocal layers, someone playing Liam's guitar part, Liam playing violin, like there's so much that would be required to do that song justice live that we don't do it live. However, obviously Zetra did play it live when they supported us in Leeds, and it was my favorite moment of 2023. Like I couldn't believe it. I stood there at the front watching them, and then they went into that, and I was there thinking, at first I was like, oh, they've nicked our riff, and then they start singing, and I'm like, oh, it's our song. And obviously Zetra, they've got the beautiful voices and the harmonies, and I'm like, it's their song now. Like in the live arena, it's their song.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I did catch a quick glimpse of them. I think it was at this year's Bloodstock Just Gone. So yeah, they're fantastic. I really wish I could have heard them do that because that must have been absolutely incredible. Another track I absolutely adore is Faking It. Another one of I think the best songs you've ever done. I love the pace of it. It's so good, and those lead lines are fantastic. The way you write lead lines, I find it so unique. It's almost you could immediately tell it's you when the lead guitar comes in. I think the only artist I can think of that sounds even remotely similar to what you do is Saya. But does that style of lead writing come from anywhere, or is that just how you play?
Oh, first of all, thank you. I think that's probably one of the nicest compliments I've ever received. So thank you. That is really, really kind of you to say. And
Um,
I love Saya. So yeah, fair enough. If you can, that's a real compliment to be able to see a similarity there. What a great band. In terms of how I write my leads, I mean, it's interesting. I've never had a guitar lesson, so I don't really know what I'm doing. And I use the guitar as kind of a way to communicate feeling rather than, I'm not running all over the fretboard. I'm not doing sweep picking exercises. I'm not treating it like a sport. It's more just a way to conjure a feeling. And I think melodically, one of the things I listen to most is video game soundtracks, and the way that video game soundtracks use what's called a leitmotif, if you want to talk about it in musical theory terms, and kind of bring in these very simple melodies with undercurrents and stuff like that is something that I adapt into my playing, because I find it emotionally the most effective. And that's always what I'm looking to do when I'm playing guitar, is to create a melody that hits you in the heart.
Yeah, great. I never really thought about that before, but yeah, you're right. Like video game music, it's not about being flashy like a lot of heavy metal is. It's about um, very strong little moments, be it repeated or not. So yeah, I can totally see that. That makes perfect sense. I know you said earlier you don't have an issue with screaming and playing those lead lines at the same time, but even so, for me, I find that really, really difficult. Have you just always been able to do that?
No, like I haven't been able to do that
Okay,
for a long
that's
time.
encouraging.
So yeah, just stick with it. Like it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of practice, and it's one of those things where you just have to keep chipping away because yeah, the first like band I performed live in was my old black metal band, and I did bass and vocals, which isn't as hard because the bass lines were really, really easy in that. I mean, they're black metal bass lines. It was just root nose. And the vocals were kind of a bit easier as well. Then I played guitar in a prog band where I was just on guitar. When I first joined Svalbard, I was just on guitar. We used to have a guy on vocals called Mikey there was an old band called Evita, but he was on our first EP. And then when he left, we couldn't really find anyone that fit to replace. So Liam and I just went, oh, I guess, I mean, I already wrote the lyrics. I guess I'll try and do it. So I had to try for ages to learn how to play those parts and scream them at the same time. And it took a lot of getting used to. And it's still a challenge. Like it's still the hardest part of the set. It will be like some of the more intricate leads that have screams over the top.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. And I have been itching to ask since I saw the music video for Faking It. How long were the takes where they had you smiling directly at the camera? Because I utterly despise smiling for camera, video or recording on cue. I just can't do it. To me, that's a form of torture. Was it unpleasant?
It was a really funny day. So the day we filmed that the bit in the video that's all kind of pink and lots of smiles and really uncomfortably long smiles, that was my birthday. That was my actual birthday. We went to the selfie factory to film it. So we're in this real like bubblegum saccharine kind of studio where everything is about, yeah, smiling for the photo really, and looking a certain way and things. So it was a really, really odd day. It was a really odd birthday, but the people we worked with to film the video, Cineoteric Films, David Gregory, I worked with him before on some Noctule videos, and him and the other guy he works with, like uh we have a really fun working relationship. So a lot of those smiles are kind of real, which is ironic for a video for Faking It, because they were like making us laugh and stuff like that. But also, yeah, I find that video quite hard to watch because it's like seeing yourself kind of smiling dead-eyed at a camera so straight is like it's quite it's quite intense to see yourself that way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's why I play in heavy metal. So any press photos, I can just be stone faced and stoic. You cannot get me to smile on camera. It's never happening. Um, but I was curious because given the what the song is about, it's about pretending to be positive, putting on a face, putting on that positive perspective, even if you might not actually be feeling it. You could have just done a music video with just the smiles versus the more stoic faces. Where was the idea to make it, as you said, so saccharine and art like plasticky? What made you go for that extra dynamic?
I was really inspired by there's an Evanescence video for the song Everybody's
Everybody's
Fool.
fooled. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually really inspired by that, where she kind of has the really fake smiley ad, I think it's like ad footage, and it's all bright. And then in between that, they've got the like desaturated dark performance footage. And we really kind of wanted to draw on that kind of similarity of the performance footage was like the real raw emotion. And that's why we had like the wind machine. So it's almost like we're playing in a storm, and the storm represents like our internal emotions. And then by like a really extreme contrast, the selfie factory footage is like really unnaturally happy and unnaturally kind of bright and very kind of like this controlled plasticky environment, just to sort of make that distinction a bit clearer, I think. And also, you know, I think it's weirdly symbolic, isn't it? You're talking about faking a smile for a camera, and like trying to make your control your life in a way that makes it look good, and then filming a video of someone like the selfie factory, where that is
Mm.
their business model, is people going there to do that. So yeah, I think it was all about making that uh dichotomy as like extreme and contrasting as possible.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Also, there was a question that I wanted to ask the last time I interviewed you, but I missed it because we got distracted talking about Skyrim for half the video. I've been desperate to ask it ever since because I think it's a really good question. So, as of course you juggle vocal duties with Liam, but as many of your lyrics are so personal to yourself, your experiences, your thoughts, and whatnot, are there ever times when you're creating the songs that you decide this line here, I have to be the one singing it because so much of me is in it?
Yes, yes, and you're the first person to like notice that and ask about it, so I really appreciate like how in depth you have been with your questions. Yes, there is. I'm trying to think of the lyric. It's on To Wilt Beneath the Weight. Sorry, let me just play it through in my head.
Oh, there is.
Oh yeah, that's it. Completely at the mercy of every form of insincerity. That was like, I have to scream this one, even though what I normally do, how we divide it, is I'll write all the lyrics, and I usually give Liam the parts that are on the trickiest guitar leads to play. So when we're playing them live or whatever, I can just focus on that, or the bits that like will suit Liam's voice a little bit better, or sometimes we'll have that kind of call and response thing going on. I'll say the line, he'll say the next bit, I'll say the next line, and that's to kind of give it dynamic vocally, so it's not just one flavor the whole time, like one person's voice and style of metal vocal. I think that works really well. But there have definitely been times where it's been like this lyric, like that line, really describes a lot of what I've been going through in the last year. It's one of those lines that's hard to perform live, because yeah, it really does come from quite a dark depth in my heart. So yeah, that had to be the one that I screamed regardless of
Yeah,
what was going on guitar wise underneath.
sure. It's a really good line, by the way. It's,
Oh,
I remember read because I always read along the lyrics to your music. You kind of have to get a lot of the point with your stuff because the lyrics are such a key part of it. I saw that line. I went, that line is so good. That's so
oh,
good. And have it at the end, the album is just genius. So, but yeah, I'm assuming that a key reasons why this album took quite a few years to come to full fruition is because you guys seem to never stop touring. You seem to be touring all the time. But nothing in Bristol since 2021. What gives?
well, you'll have to ask our booking agent. Yeah, this is the thing. We're absolutely dying to get back to Bristol. That last show we had in Bristol, I believe it was at the Exchange.
Mm-hmm. I was there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember now actually. That was absolutely fantastic. And like it's just different, isn't it? Playing in Bristol, playing in what is kind of still technically our hometown. We still rehearse in Bristol and stuff. It'd be really, really nice to get back there. Unfortunately, a lot of our tours that we have coming up are support tours where we don't get to pick where we're playing. So Enslaved, unfortunately, there's no date for Bristol on that tour. I think the closest one is London. It's one of those things, part of me, you know, I think maybe we should try and look at, even if we can't get there on a tour, if we're supporting, maybe just doing a one-off just a headline show at the Exchange again or something would be really cool, because it's overdue now. We're really, really ready to get back to Bristol and see all our friends again.
Yeah, we're all ready for you guys to come back because it's been quite a few years. But whenever that day comes, I'm sure it's going to be incredible. But we've already just dropped it, so let's talk about it. You're about to go out on tour with the incredible Enslaved and Wayfarer. That is absolutely mental. I bet you're buzzing for that.
Do you know, American Gothic by Wayfarer is like one of my favorite albums released I think it was released last year, wasn't it? What an album. Like, I can't stop listening to it. So I'm so excited to watch. I've never seen them before.
Oh no way,
Really,
they're
really
so good.
excited. Yeah. Oh, great. That's good to hear. Really excited to see them. Obviously, Enslaved, one of my favorite bands. Absolutely love them. We've had the privilege of playing shows with them at several different points before. So it's going to be really, really nice to do like a full tour and get to spend a bit more time with those guys as well. And yeah, like I'm going to be that person that's just like watching Wayfarer and Enslaved every night. Like, I'm super excited, and yeah, really, really can't wait. It's at that point at the moment where it feels too far away. I'm like,
Mm.
there's still like 2 months to go. Why can't time speed up? I want to be on the tour now.
Awesome. Yeah, as I say, that's always going to be absolutely crazy. Both bands absolutely incredible. You guys slot right in there. That's such a good lineup. So for everyone watching, please check those links down in the description below so you can check out info about the tour and get yourself some tickets to it and get excited for it. So we've done the journalistic obligations for talking about the new album and the upcoming tour. So let's talk about some fun stuff instead. It's because it's not just music that you're into. Back when we spoke in 2021, I had no idea how I missed this in my research, that you're a massive roller coaster nut. Because it seems like all you do in your spare time is theme parks. So I go on your Instagram, you're at some theme park somewhere most days of the week. So is that just something you've always had a passion for?
I mean, I was at Disneyland Paris yesterday,
No
so
fucking way. There you go.
you're right. Yeah, so I have been a roller coaster enthusiast since I was a teenager. So for many years of my life, it's a really big part of my life. Some of the closest friends and friendships I've made have been through roller coaster forums and coaster club meetups and stuff like that. I've worked for the YouTube channel Coaster Force, which is super great. Like, I get to cover press events and things like Fright Nights at Thorpe Park or new ride openings and stuff. It's a huge, huge passion of mine. I composed a soundtrack for Fright Nights at Thorpe Park a few years ago, which was a bit of a dream come true for me. That was like the trifecta of everything I love all coming together at once.
Yeah.
And that's something I definitely love to do more of in the future, creating like soundtracks for roller coasters. But yeah, big part of my life. I've ridden 764 different roller coasters all around the world.
I love how you got that
Um,
number so exact in your head.
yeah, there's a website called Coaster Count, where you can log every single one that you ride. And as a coaster enthusiast, that's kind of like an important piece of info about you, will be how many coasters you've ridden. So you
Yeah.
don't forget a number like that anytime soon.
Yeah, I'll bet. Did you get to go to that Fright Night that you'd composed for?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would it take you out of the horror of it? You're going, oh, that's my music.
Yeah. So you just, I mean, so the attraction that I composed the soundtrack for was called Creek Freak Massacre. I was there press night, opening night, seeing all the celebrities' reactions to it and everything, and it was probably one of the best nights of my life. Hearing my music playing so loud in a theme park of all places was just, it made me so incredibly happy. And seeing people's, because obviously with Svalbard and stuff, the only time you really get to see people's reaction to your music is when you play it live.
Mhm.
But being able to stand in a theme park and see how it like affected the mood, see how it affected people, was in a kind of less direct way than performing to people. It was really, really special, and I absolutely loved it. But yeah, every time I went into the attraction Creek View Massacre, I was just walking through going, oh, I remember like at the time that I wrote this was 2019. I had all the blueprints for the attraction like I lived with Liam from Svalbard, and they were all pinned to the kitchen wall, and I had like my digital audio workstation there, and I'd be doing all the different bits for the different rooms and the attractions. And then you go through it in real life, and you're like, oh, it's like the blueprints, but in real life.
Awesome, awesome stuff. If after all those 700 plus roller coasters that you've done, are you able to narrow down one favorite?
Yes, so it's very easy. It's Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion in Virginia. Yeah, it's 305 foot tall, as the name suggests. It's one of the most intense roller coasters ever made. They'll never make one like it again. And I always joke that ride temporarily cures my depression, because it's so fast and so forceful that you literally cannot think. You just kind of like, yeah, sit there, a bit of a mess, but it's great.
Yeah, I have to stick that on the list. It's got to be Velocicoaster for me. That was I knew it was intense, right? Going into it, I knew it had two launches and that and all the whatever. But when I got to the front of the queue and it came round, I saw there's no shoulder restraints on Velocicoaster. It's just flat bar. I think I nearly threw up. I was like, this can't be serious. I'm going to fly right off the top of that thing. But as you will know, because I know you've been on it, you're not moving out of that seat. It pins you right back. Do you go over
Yeah,
the top hat when you start flying? But whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, love that ride. So good. I'm going back to Orlando this summer, actually. So
Oh,
it's going to be
really? Oh,
great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
My favorite coaster in Orlando is Mako at SeaWorld. I'd highly recommend that ride. It's very, very good. Are you going to go to Tampa to go to Busch Gardens as well?
Possibly. I'll be honest. The reason I go to Orlando quite frequently is because me and my girlfriend are huge Disney fans. Like
Oh, okay.
absolutely massive Disney nut. So we went like I think 2 summers ago now. It was our make it or break it. Let's go Disney World. Like we're never gonna go again. Let's go crazy. And we left it, and now we're going again this summer. So we'll
Oh,
we'll try and duck into other theme parks if we can. Probably Universal because it's great. Very important question. Do you prefer sitting at the front or the back?
depends on the ride. So for what's known as a hypercoaster, where you're going over the big parabolic hills, controversially, for an enthusiast, I prefer sitting at the front, because you get pushed up into the hills. You get more time out of your seat and more of that floating sensation. Whereas if you sit at the back of the train, you kind of get dragged over and then whipped out of your seat very quickly as you come down the hill, which is also a great sensation. But for me personally, it's front row. So I would say front row on a hypercoaster. Back row on, I don't know if you know what an RMC is. It's like a wooden coaster that's been converted to steel that does mad maneuvers and inversions and stuff. That's why I was said Busch Gardens Tampa, because they have a coaster called Iron Gwazi that is very, very good. So if you do get the chance to go out there, I'd recommend that. But yeah, if you sit in the back row of them, you have a very, very intense experience. So sometimes you can have a great time in the middle of a train as well. Like sometimes it hits every element perfectly. So yeah, I think I know some people who are like back row or nothing on every ride, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I kind of do it on a ride by ride basis.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes perfect sense. I'm going to
Can I ask you a
effortlessly. Yeah. Oh, of
question?
course you can. Go for it.
What's your favorite ride at Disney World?
Um, oh, I think it's a toss up between the new Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind or Flight of Passage. Because Flight of Passage is not a thrill ride. It's very, very easy going, but I just love it. I love the immersion. I love the music. I love the smells. I love all of it. It's me and my girlfriend got off it on the second day. I was just like, "What? That was fucking insane." So yeah, probably those two.
I love the way when you sit on Flight of Passage, you can feel the animal breathing under
Breathing.
the
I
pool.
remember. I was
Yeah.
like, that's. I think because I didn't notice. I did this. My girlfriend said afterwards, "Do you know you patted it like it was real?" And I was like, "Did I?"
Oh,
Apparently I did. Now I make a conscious effort to thank it when we're done. Yeah, that's a great one. I'm going to effortlessly make this talk about roller coasters link back to music. You mentioned on your Instagram that a section of the track "Lights Out" is inspired by a time at a theme park, I think called the Elf Ting. So if I got that
Efteling.
pronunciation, Efteling, that's the one. Does a lot of your inspiration for music come from theme park music as well as video game music?
Yeah, yeah. Like the two big sources of inspiration for me are video games, video game music, and theme parks and theme park music, particularly. So Efteling has its own composer. Efteling often gets described as if you want to go to Disney, but you want to do it on a budget, go to Efteling, which is a massive disservice to Efteling because Efteling is better than Disney and would never build anything that uses screens or anything that's, they'd never build the grey area of Marvel Avengers campus. Like Efteling is top tier theme park. It's all very fantasy based. It's all very, very beautiful and very intricate. And they have their own composer and his way with melodies. Once again, it's kind of that evocative sense of that it just makes you feel so many emotions. And also, they tend to use a lot of waltz time signatures, which I think creates like a timelessness
Mm,
and a romanticism to their sound, which there's a lot of romance in my Svalbard leads as well. Admittedly, all like heartbroken and sad, but yeah,
mm.
there's definitely like that element there as well. Like especially if you on the leads of something like How to Swim Down. So yeah, and then on Lights Out, that particular lead is inspired by Efteling because it has that kind of I don't know the correct terminology for it, but it will be really happy and then it will hit one note that's a bit minor and that
Right.
kind of throws it off, but not in such a way that is jarring, just in a way that kind of creates a bit of melodic unease. And that's where I got that inspiration for was from some Efteling music.
Yeah, cool. I did go check out some music from Efteling after you mentioned that in your post, and it's really nice stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely going to stick that on when I next Baldur's Gate session. It looks like such a cool park. I'll definitely have to check that one out one day. And what theme park have you got planned next?
Oh, well, this is a very rare moment for me. Normally, like in the last from September to now, I did Orlando, I did Halloween Horror Nights, I did Six Flags, I did Hershey Park, I did Toverland in the Netherlands, Europa Park in Germany, Park Warner Madrid, Park the Attractions to Madrid, Portaventura in Barcelona. So I've just done quite a lot in the last 5, 6 months. And now is kind of the off season for me. Like Disneyland Paris was the last one I squeezed in, and I was only did that because I was there to watch the Elden Ring Orchestra anyway. And you can't go to Paris and not go to Disneyland, in my opinion. It's uncultured. But yeah, and then because of that, so February, March, there's not a lot of parks open right now. And then March we're on tour. So and then I'm kind of waiting on some tour stuff to be confirmed because when your tours are in the email stage and they're not in the confirmed stage, it's really hard to like make any other plans. Um, so I don't actually have anything booked right now, which is a huge source of anxiety. Oh, I say that actually. No, sorry, I'm going to Sweden in June, but that's ages away. That's like 5 months away. That doesn't count. There'll definitely be trips before then.
Yeah, fair enough. Where are you going in Sweden?
Three parks going to Groneland, Kolmarden, and Liseberg in Gothenburg. I've been to all of these parks before, but they're really, really great parks with a lot of good rides. So gonna go revisit them with some coaster nerds, which will be fun.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, another thing I wanted to ask about, obviously, was your love for video games because you do a lot of video game journalism as well. As I say, last time we chatted, I was supposed to talk to you about Noctule, but we got distracted and talked about Skyrim. But we're gonna talk about it all this time. So, am I right in thinking that Elden Ring is the basis to the next Noctule album?
I am not going to confirm or deny that.
Damn it. Okay, fair enough. It's fine. You can tell me after we've finished recording. Anyway, I saw you mentioned earlier that you went to see the performance of the Elden Ring soundtrack in Paris. How was that?
Oh, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, the Elden Ring soundtrack is so powerful, so like magnificent and epic. And yeah, just dark and brooding. So to hear those boss fight songs performed live, and they had like the screens behind them with the like boss fights happening, they would change the lighting in the hall, in the concert hall, to match the color palette of each boss. They had like the classic text like being played over the
Oh,
orchestra.
that's so cool.
It was amazing. And the choir, like when the choir walked on stage, a couple of like sort of groups of people walked on stage. I was thinking, oh, that's a big choir. Oh, that was like half of it. They had like a 50-person choir on stage, which hearing stuff like Renala's music performed by a choir in that way, oh, it was absolutely beautiful. It's called Elden Ring Symphonic Adventure, and it is coming to London in April. So I think I'm going to go again, see it again, because I really, really enjoyed it. And I love seeing stuff like that where it's obviously it's like live music, but it's totally different to like a metal show.
Sure.
And it's really nice to see something different like that. But yeah, it was, if you're a fan of Elden Ring, you will get a lot out of it.
Sure. I live for that choir section in Radahn's boss fight. It's like to hear that I can't even. I might have to go see that in April. Uh,
Rodan was one of the best, like in the set list. The Rodan fight bit where they did it was like, my jaw was on the floor. It was so, so epic.
Awesome, awesome. I read your top games of 2023 list that came out a little while ago. I was very happy to see Baldur's Gate 3 make it in there. You call it the greatest RPG ever made. I'm inclined to agree. It is fantastic. I can't tell you how obsessed I am with this game. I'm almost glad we had to delay a bit tonight so I could sneak in a little session before proofreading my questions. So thank you. Although, most vital question regarding Baldur's Gate 3, who did you romance first on your first playthrough?
Astarion, of course.
My name's Astarion, and I've spent a century stalking the night, hunting for pretty morsels just like you.
It was either going to be Astarion or Shadowheart. That seems to be everyone's either or.
You want a fun fact? I actually interviewed
I
Neil
was
Newbon as well.
literally about to ask that because I can't find the video for it anywhere now. I remember seeing it when it first got posted. Now I can't find it, so I was going to ask if I dreamt it or not. But anyway,
No, no, no. It's on Games Radar's socials. So I was there at the Golden Joystick Awards for Games Radar, who I'm the social media editor for, and yeah, got to interview Neil Newbon, which was absolutely incredible. And yeah, got my photo with him, and like it was hard not to fangirl, to be
mhm,
honest. Yeah, absolutely lovely guy and like so talented.
mhm.
So yeah, it was really amazing to be there and work at something like the Golden Joystick Awards.
Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet. Did you tell him that you romanced him in your playthrough?
No, I didn't.
I
I'm
bet he
sure he
gets that
gets
all
a
the
lot
time.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I played it cool.
Yeah, I'll bet. Are you a safe scummer? Because I am.
No, I'm not.
Ooh, okay. That's quite a bold game to not
I
save.
feel like it's part of Baldur's Gate 3 is making mistakes and having a shit roll and like learning where that takes you. So no, yeah, I don't do save scumming.
Fair enough, fair enough. Although I can't tell you how much I laughed when I saw that beating it out for the #1 game of the year was a quaint little game called Dave the Diver. I haven't got round to that one yet, but what made it your game of the year?
Oh my gosh, how long have you got? Well, Dave the Diver surprised me so much. I kept seeing every day at work Dave the Diver coming up here, there, and everywhere. People whose opinions on games I really, really like listen to and respect and admire kept saying Dave the Diver, and I thought, okay. And then eventually, after a few months after it was released, I sat down thinking, oh, I'll give it like a couple of hours, see what it's all about. And that night where I started playing it, I think I played it for like 10 hours. I could not put it down. It's so good. It's such an odd premise. Like if I were to describe it to you,
Yeah.
you'd be like, that sounds bonkers and too strange. Like a fishing game where you dive and capture fish with a harpoon and other weapons. But you then go up and sell the fish at a sushi restaurant that you manage by night. And it just sounds like a very odd premise. But let me tell you, like the game unfolds in such a kind of cool, interesting way. There's so many like really quirky mini games in the game, but it never feels like they're kind of forcing, oh, like here's another thing and here's another thing. It just unfolds in a really dynamic way. The music's great. It looks fantastic. Like the humor, there's a lot of humor in the game, a lot of pop culture references. It's a little work of art. It really is. And like, I cannot put it down. I've not finished it yet. I've been doing that thing where you like a game so much that you don't finish it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with Dave the Diver at the moment, but I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Cool. It's on the backlog. Maybe I'll bump it up a couple slots. Cool. I'm curious. Is being a video game journalist as glamorous as it seems? I mean, yeah, you get to play video games as your career. Who wouldn't want to do that? But are there drawbacks?
I am very, very lucky to have a job that I absolutely love, that I get to show where I get to show my passion and how much I care about games that, really grab my attention and excite me. And I get to work with some very, very creative, talented people. In all the previous jobs I've had, this is easily the best. A lot of the days I never get the waking up work dread that I used to have in all my previous jobs. I used to dread going to my day job. Now, like, I genuinely look forward to it. I genuinely spend my free time, working on a few extra bits, that kind of thing. The only, I think, downside is it's very time consuming. Anyone in the games industry will tell you that it takes a lot of time. And things like the GTA 6 trailer dropping at 1 a.m. Oh, I guess I'm at work now, like working till 3 a.m. It's just one of those things. Games journalism is fast paced. There's always a lot going on. There's a lot to kind of react to. And obviously my role being tied within social media, I think the downfall of your role being tied within social media is that you have such clear metrics of what, and you can put hours into making a video and then it not perform well. And social media, it's designed to not be an algorithm that you can crack easily. Otherwise, it is designed to confuse you and keep you kind of like trying and trying and trying again and not being able to figure out what hits and what doesn't.
Or it's like forcing you to engage with their platform. Like, even if you're frustrated with it, you're still going to keep trying.
Yeah, it's like a cycle of discontent and stuff like that. So like sometimes I think you have to develop quite a thick skin to work in social media, but yeah, I feel so privileged to be in the job that I'm in. Sometimes I think in the games industry you can also get like imposter syndrome, especially games journalism, where there's so many games and you might not have played all of them, or there might be games that just aren't really your style of playing and things. But yeah, overall, like, I'm super lucky to be there. I'd say the major like thing is just expect it to take up a lot of your time.
Sure. Cool. Right. We're nearly there. Last thing before we move on to our outro questions. Just wanted to ask, obviously, with how busy you've been with the new album, your game journalism, all the tours and whatnot, have you had time to check out some of the metal releases of 2024?
Oh, 2024.
Sorry. 2023. I don't know why I've written 2024 there. We haven't had anything yet.
I was going to say, wow, that's early. 2023. I absolutely loved. There's a Swiss, I want to say tech death, but I feel like that isn't perhaps the right genre description. Band called Stortrain. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I feel like that does ring a bell.
Their latest album in 2023, Finitude. Oh my God, masterpiece! Like, one of the best albums I've ever heard. It blends like all these technical aspects with flamenco style guitars and like black metal vocals, and it's one of those songs I like. A lot of what I listen to doesn't sound like the kind of music I play. Like, I don't listen to that many bands that sound like Svalbard. I tend to listen to a lot more like tech death or black metal or power metal, that kind of thing. And that Finitude by Stortrain, it's one of those albums you keep coming back to and it hits even harder every time. Every time there'll be like a new layer that you discover going on. It is a work of art. And I was shocked to see it not make many people's end of year lists or not see that much buzz about it on like within metal press, because it deserved to receive a lot of high accolade. I think it's an absolutely brilliant album. I really liked the Angus McSix album.
That was my number 5.
Yeah, wow, the production on that. I mean, I think Sebastian from Ordenogan is a fantastic producer. He makes everything sound so huge.
Yeah.
And that track, Amazons of
Oh,
Caledonia,
that
oh
chorus
my
is so
God.
good. It's so
What
good.
a song. Like that song is like joy personified. Like the riff when it kicks in, it's so simple, but and then the massive chorus, like wow, I think that album, yeah, what a power metal classic. Dodd Heimsgard, Black Medium Current. So that's like more avant-garde black metal. I love everything Dodd Heimsgard do. I think they're always kind of pushing the envelope when it comes to black metal and seeing how weird they can make it. And Black Medium Current, it was just, yeah, it was like Dodd Heimsgard being weird again. So that was great. I think those are, yeah, the immediate ones that spring to mind. I know what's going to happen is we're going to end this chat and I'm going to think of like 10
Always
more.
the way, always the way. No worries. Cool. So, we'll do our round off questions now. We like to end these interviews the same way every single time with some random quick fire questions that have nothing to do with anything. You can think as long or as quick as you like, elaborate if you choose. We change up the questions for every interview. However, in 2023, we had a fixed opening question, but now we're into 2024. We're swapping out that opening question, and we tally the results at the end of the year. So no pressure. Yours is the first response for 2024's consistent opening question. So, do you prefer catchy choruses or filthy breakdowns?
Oh, catchy choruses.
I thought you might say that. Cool. So that's one for catchy choruses for 2024. Cool. Right. And now the more random questions. Do you prefer touring or recording?
Oh God, that's so hard. Ah, they're so different. I'd say recording is more of a consistently good, like it's consistently um you can really, really get like stuck in and immersed, and it's very, yeah, very involving. Touring hits bigger highs when you do a big show, a good show, but sometimes things go wrong, or sometimes you're exhausted and you've had no sleep for 2 days, that kind of thing. Your neck is hurting, your voice is going. So you can hit lower lows and higher highs when touring. But then the highs you hit when you are touring and you play a show that goes fantastically, that's better than recording. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's a really tough one. I think I am going to have to say touring though, but just for
Just
those,
about. Just about.
yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Small venue or festival stage?
Ooh, that's another
Another hard
difficult
one.
one. I'm going to go with small venue. If I think back to, apart from Hellfest, if I think back to all our like most memorable shows from last year, the ones that like really will stay with me forever, it's, the small venue in France, the small venues on tours and stuff where you can see everyone's faces and you can feel the warmth, the heat of the crowd. Like I love that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the intimacy of a small show. Big festival stage. I mean, it's very intimidating and it's really, really exciting and it makes you feel like you're James Hetfield or something. But you're also less likely to get a sound check. So
Mm,
there's more things that can be like more bugs to iron out and stuff like that. You're always on the back foot with a festival show,
right.
if you know what I mean.
Sure. Fair enough. Fair enough. Single player or multiplayer?
Single player.
Absolutely. What game franchise would you compose a soundtrack for?
Ooh. Uh, that's a really hard question because all of the games that I would like to compose soundtracks for have some of the greatest soundtracks ever recorded. So I know I wouldn't be able to do anything remotely close to what like Jeremy Soule did or anything. So, oh, this is really, really difficult. I'm sorry. I don't want to deliberate for too long. Maybe something like a JRPG, like Sea of Stars, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, something kind of quirky and cute. Oh, no, wait, no, no, I tell a lie. I'm not saying that I could write better because this isn't true. The soundtrack is already amazing. I just think I have ideas and melodies that would suit this game franchise. Hollow Knight.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, they're still working on Silk Song. Maybe we can get you in there. Cool. This next one's a bit more lighthearted. Well, a bit easier, maybe. Who would win in a fight? 10 Star Scourge Radans or 1 Melania Blade of Mikula who has never known defeat?
Oh, one Melania Blade of Mikula who's never known defeat. Of
I mean,
course.
the big roadblock for every single person who's ever played that fucking game. My
Yeah.
God, I still haven't beaten her. I can't do
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, I had to put the game down. I was like, I've played this for 90 hours. I need to stop. But one day I'll go back and I'll take that person down. Right, right. Next question. Steel coaster or wooden?
So if you look at my top 10 roller coasters, more of them are steel. So I'm going to say steel because steel is more versatile. However, when a wooden coaster is hits the mark, there's nothing else quite like that. But yeah, I will go with steel for the versatility.
Oh, fair enough. What was the last show you went to other than your own?
I went to see Obscura in Ferry and Decapitated in London in December. I love Obscura so much. Probably one of the best shows I've ever seen, actually. They were phenomenal. The guitar work, the energy, the synergy between like the bassist and the drums. Like, I mean, yeah, I love that band anyway, but then seeing them live and hearing those songs live, it was really elevated. It was really cool. And in Ferry as well, big fan of them. They absolutely smashed it. Vocalist was incredible. Some of those screams he could do. Decapitated, I wouldn't say like they're one of my favorite bands or anything. They were the headliners. And I've watched them quite a few times at festivals and stuff. And yeah, they really know how to get the crowd going and stuff like that. But I just find it's like they have moments. They have
Hmm.
the moment where the riff is like amazing, but then the songwriting as a whole doesn't grab me in the same way that like Obscura does.
Okay, fair enough. Go to pre-show meal.
Oh, I try not to eat before we play. It's eating on tour is a fucking nightmare. Oh, sorry for swearing,
I
but
don't
it
think
is
I've ever made you swear.
well, you mentioned the F word, food, and so now I have to swear. Um, it's a nightmare on tour, because you never know like how where your free time is going to be to eat in
Hmm.
between, like 'cause sound checks can overrun, there can be issues, and if you're not headlining you don't have a long enough period of time between like doors to you playing to actually eat and digest something. You do not want to be eating something 3 hours or less before a show. So what I tend to do, this is really unhealthy, I just eat pom bears like throughout the day. And then after the show, I usually end up going on the merch for a few hours. But then after all that, when there's nothing left but like the takeaway that's open really late at night, then I'll get like a really greasy burger or something like that. But uh if I could have my choice, like stuff like sushi, I really like, but it's just logistically, it's
Yeah,
not that easy to make that happen.
yeah, fair enough. And final question: favorite song off of The Weight of the Mask?
How to Swim Down. I think How to Swim Down is one of my favorite songs we've ever written. I love how different it is. I love the emotion of that song. I love the way that Lewis produced it. I'm just really proud of it. And also, it's one of those songs that you can play to your parents. You can be
Yeah.
like, you'll like this one. There's none of that screaming on it. So, yeah, yeah, really proud of that song.
Awesome, awesome. So that's all I've got. Thank you again so much, Serena, for joining me again. Always an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you.
Oh, thank you so much. It was really lovely to talk to you again. And thank you again for like all the research and the thought and the time you put into your questions. Like, I've answered a lot of questions over the last couple of months since the album came out about that album, and you didn't ask the normal boring ones. So thank you for
Oh,
not doing that.
well, thank you. I'm really trying to get really good at this sort of thing, so that means a lot. Thank you. So yeah, for everyone watching, I'll say again, please check out those links down below to check out Svalbard, their music, and of course their upcoming tour with Enslaved and Wayfarer. Thank you, Serena, for joining me. Thank you all for watching. Go listen to some amazing heavy metal and I'll see you all in the next video.